Divorce is more than the end of a marriage, it is a seismic shift in the landscape of childhood. For those who grow up between two households, calendars and living rooms carry echoes of negotiation, absence, and divided loyalty. Every holiday, birthday, or simple evening may hold unspoken tension or quiet longing. Children of divorce navigate a world where love is fractured yet present, where home is both here and there, and where belonging is often negotiated rather than assumed. Some carry subtle anxiety, others heightened empathy, some feel the relief of release, others the pang of loss. Their psychology is shaped not only by what is said but by what remains unspoken, by the invisible currents of separation, loyalty, and adaptation that flow beneath daily life. This story is of resilience, reflection, and the intricate human heart navigating fractured love. For a child of divorced parents, life is lived in two places, yet fully in neither. Rooms, beds, and schedules shift with a rhythm that is both familiar and disorienting. One morning begins in a quiet house with the scent of coffee and toast, the next ends in another with different walls, voices, and rules. Home is not a single sanctuary but a set of overlapping spaces, each carrying love, absence, and expectation. This constant movement shapes perception. The child learns to read moods, predict reactions, and navigate the subtle currents of each household. A raised voice in one home may signal danger, while in the other, silence may carry judgment. They become observers, attuned to the emotional landscape, negotiating their behavior, moods, and desires across shifting territories. Loyalty is never simple. Love for one parent exists alongside love for the other, yet circumstances often make these feelings feel divided. They may feel guilt for enjoyment in one home, worry for leaving the other, or anxiety at moments of conflict between parents. The child internalizes subtle rules. Pleasure in one place must be balanced, compromise is necessary, and happiness is always measured against fairness. Routines are double-edged. They provide stability, school, meals, bedtime rituals, but also highlight the differences and absences in each environment. Objects, rooms, and even smells become coded signals: whose rules, whose expectations, whose love is present now. The everyday details, the mismatched furniture, separate laundry, or repeated packing of a backpack become markers of transition, rhythm, and identity. Friendships and social life are affected too. Sleepovers, weekend outings, or holidays may be negotiated around visitation schedules. The child may learn to calculate, adapt, and plan in ways that peers from intact households rarely consider. Flexibility becomes second nature, adaptability becomes survival. Emotionally, the landscape is nuanced. Moments of joy may be tinged with guilt, celebrations may feel incomplete, absence is always present. Yet within this tension, children develop subtle observational skills. They notice emotional cues, unspoken expectations, and relational dynamics that are invisible to most. They learn the language of empathy and negotiation almost unconsciously. Memory becomes layered. Each home holds fragments of the past, rituals preserved, promises repeated, and routines continued. The child carries these together, creating a dual narrative of experience, where both love and disruption coexist. They inhabit two worlds at once, sometimes harmoniously, sometimes in quiet conflict, but always learning to navigate both with care. Living between worlds is formative. It shapes identity, perception, and emotional rhythm. Children of divorce often grow adept at balancing connection with independence, negotiation with loyalty, and presence with observation. The duality of home becomes an invisible teacher, instructing in patience, empathy, and subtle emotional intelligence. Even in the smallest moments, the shift of a pillow, the packing of a backpack, the farewell hug, the child learns resilience. They absorb lessons of impermanence, adaptation, and relational awareness. These lessons are neither simple nor always visible. They are layered, quiet, and deeply human. The chapter of Living Between Worlds sets the stage for understanding how these early experiences ripple through time. It frames a life of duality, observation, and negotiation, an existence that is both tender and complex. From these early years emerges the architecture of the child's emotional life, a blend of adaptation, reflection, and enduring sensitivity. Children are remarkably sensitive to the shifts that divorce brings. Even when reassured, they perceive tension, absence, and the fractures in the family unit. A raised voice, a whispered argument, a sudden absence, these moments imprint quietly but persistently. They learn that love can be unstable, that relationships can change suddenly, and that security is often conditional. Guilt is a common companion. They may believe that their behavior caused conflict, that they are responsible for reconciliation, or that their happiness should always be weighed against parental pain. This internalized responsibility shapes emotional patterns, creating self-monitoring habits that last far beyond childhood. Confusion arises naturally. The child observes parents no longer sharing a home, rituals disrupted, routines altered, and roles reshaped. They may struggle to understand why love between adults has failed while their own attachment needs remain unmet. Questions arise without answers, leaving space for reflection, worry, or silent adaptation. Grief and loss are constant undercurrents. The death of a unified family, the disappearance of familiar routines, or the absence of shared holidays carries subtle sorrow. Children grieve not only the relationship of their parents, but the imagined world they once expected: Christmas mornings, birthday parties, bedtime stories uninterrupted by tension. The loss is complex, neither fully acknowledged nor entirely expressed, but deeply felt. Coping mechanisms develop early. Some children cultivate self-reliance, turning inward to regulate emotion, manage disappointment, and maintain equilibrium. Others seek connection externally, forming attachments to friends, teachers, or extended family to fill the gaps left by fractured home life. Still others become observers, learning to navigate emotional landscapes with careful attention to cues, anticipating conflict before it emerges. Attachment patterns are shaped in nuanced ways. Children of divorce may oscillate between anxiety and avoidance, craving connection yet fearing disappointment, seeking stability yet bracing for upheaval. These early imprints inform relational tendencies into adolescence and adulthood, influencing trust, intimacy, and expectations of love. Memory becomes selective and layered. Positive moments are cherished, often revisited as safe islands: a shared laugh, a comforting hug, a ritual preserved. Negative experiences are integrated differently, sometimes minimized, sometimes internalized as warning signs. The child constructs an internal map of emotion, loyalty, and anticipation, balancing love with vigilance. Early emotional imprints are both tender and instructive. They teach lessons in resilience, empathy, and adaptability. They reveal the capacity to navigate complexity, negotiate divided loyalties, and maintain relational awareness in the midst of uncertainty. Yet these imprints also leave subtle shadows. Feelings of abandonment, fear of loss, or internalized guilt can persist into adulthood if unexamined. They influence how intimacy is approached, how conflict is managed, and how trust is extended. The echoes of early divorce reverberate quietly, shaping the interior life in profound ways. By recognizing these imprints, we begin to understand the lasting impact of parental separation. The child is shaped not by blame or fault, but by adaptation to circumstance. They develop patterns of care, observation, and emotional sophistication that are forged in quiet moments of adjustment, reflection, and survival. Children of divorce become keen observers of human behavior. They notice subtle shifts in tone, pauses in conversation, and the emotional undercurrents that signal tension or acceptance. This attentiveness is born not from choice but necessity. Predicting conflict, navigating expectations, and protecting emotional equilibrium require constant awareness. Adaptation begins early. Some develop emotional self-reliance, learning to soothe disappointment or fear internally rather than seeking external reassurance. Others cultivate empathy, noticing what each parent needs, what siblings feel, or what friends may perceive. They become skilled negotiators, translating subtle cues into action that maintains balance across environments. Attachment patterns reflect this adaptive intelligence. Children may oscillate between anxious attachment, hyper-awareness of closeness and potential loss, and avoidant tendencies, retreating to self-protection when stress arises. They learn to balance desire for connection with caution, to trust selectively, and to monitor relationships carefully. Even small interactions become exercises in emotional calibration. Cognitive adaptation is subtle but profound. They learn contingency thinking, anticipating how one parent may react, planning logistics to avoid conflict, and strategizing communication to minimize disruption. Problem-solving becomes relational as much as practical, linking emotional understanding with everyday action. This mental agility is a hallmark of their adaptive mind. Emotional regulation develops through repetition and observation. They learn to contain anger, disappointment, or anxiety, translating raw emotion into thoughtful response or quiet reflection. Sometimes suppression occurs, not as denial, but as a deliberate strategy to navigate complex circumstances. Over time, this skill becomes internalized, shaping patterns of reflection, observation, and resilience. Resilience is rarely ostentatious. It emerges quietly in the ability to maintain love for both parents, to celebrate milestones across households, and to function emotionally amid shifting expectations. Children learn that stability is not always external. It must be cultivated internally through observation, reflection, and strategic engagement. Yet adaptation carries its subtleties. While these skills provide protection and competence, they may also leave traces of hyper-vigilance, self-monitoring, or reluctance to fully rely on others. The adaptive mind is resourceful, but its sophistication can mask the quiet longing for unfractured security. They negotiate complexity expertly, yet their emotional landscape often holds hidden contours of tension, loyalty, and caution. These adaptations shape identity. Children of divorced parents often grow into adults capable of nuanced empathy, acute perception, and flexible problem-solving. They understand relational dynamics on a level that peers from intact families may not, and they carry a unique sensitivity to absence, change, and negotiation. In this way, the adaptive mind is both a survival mechanism and a gift. It equips children to navigate fractured environments, anticipate needs, and maintain equilibrium in emotionally complex spaces. It is the foundation upon which resilience, insight, and relational intelligence are built. The adaptive mind is the bridge between early emotional imprints and the challenges of loyalty, conflict, and adult relational patterns. It is here that the child learns not just to survive divorce, but to inhabit the emotional world with subtlety, awareness, and care. Divided loyalty is an invisible weight. The child loves both parents, yet circumstances make this love complicated. They may fear showing preference, worry about judgment, or silently carry responsibility for emotional equilibrium. A compliment to one parent can feel like a betrayal to the other. A moment of enjoyment in one home may trigger guilt, reminding them that love is never uncomplicated in this landscape. Conflict becomes a persistent backdrop. Arguments, disagreements over schedules, or tension during shared events are not only observed, they are absorbed. The child learns to interpret tone, anticipate reactions, and sometimes mediate without explicit invitation. Even silence becomes meaningful. The absence of words can signal anger, disappointment, or unresolved tension. Internalization is common. Children often carry the burden of harmony within themselves, learning to self-regulate emotion to prevent disruption. They may suppress irritation, mask disappointment, or moderate joy to avoid exacerbating conflict. The internal life becomes a careful balancing act where presence, attention, and tact are continually negotiated. Guilt is a subtle companion. They may believe that their actions or choices influence parental emotions. If one parent is upset, perhaps they are to blame. This internalized responsibility can shape identity, creating patterns of hyper-vigilance, careful decision-making, and self-monitoring that persist into adulthood. Yet the tension also fosters empathy. They develop acute awareness of emotional needs, motivations, and limitations. They can navigate interpersonal complexity with sensitivity, understanding perspectives that are unspoken or contradictory. Conflict becomes both a challenge and a teacher, cultivating insight into human behavior and relational dynamics. Negotiation skills emerge naturally. Children learn when to speak, when to remain silent, and how to express needs without triggering discord. Every choice, visitation plans, holiday participation, even casual conversation, is framed by consideration for both parents' feelings. The ability to navigate these waters is subtle but profound, a form of social intelligence honed under unique circumstances. Sometimes conflict is direct. Parents may intentionally or inadvertently involve the child in disputes, overt or implied. In these moments, the child must navigate loyalty with care, protecting love for both while preserving emotional integrity. These experiences teach lessons in boundary setting, emotional discernment, and self-preservation. Even in adulthood, the echoes of conflict and loyalty persist. Relationships, friendships, and romantic partnerships may reflect early negotiation patterns, sensitivity to tension, and a nuanced understanding of compromise. The experience of navigating parental separation leaves a lasting imprint on emotional and relational intelligence. Conflict and loyalty are inseparable in the child's psychology. They are intertwined threads, creating a complex emotional fabric: love and tension, care and caution, observation and adaptation. Through these experiences, the child develops resilience, insight, and the capacity for subtle, nuanced navigation of human relationships. And within this tension lies quiet strength. It is the foundation upon which empathy, awareness, and adaptive intelligence are built. It is the internal compass guiding the child through fractured landscapes of love, preparing them to engage the world with both sensitivity and discernment. The imprint of parental divorce often lingers far beyond childhood. Its lessons and patterns shape how individuals relate to themselves, to others, and to the world of intimate relationships. Early adaptation becomes a template, sometimes conscious, often implicit, guiding choices and emotional responses in adulthood. Trust is nuanced. Having witnessed love fracture, the adult may approach intimacy with care, balancing desire for closeness against caution. Attachment patterns formed in childhood, anxious vigilance or avoidant independence, inform how relationships are entered, maintained, or withdrawn from. They are aware that connection can be fragile, yet they have learned the value of patience, observation, and subtle negotiation. Empathy is heightened. Experiencing parental conflict firsthand, often while mediating emotion or absorbing tension, cultivates sensitivity to others' needs, moods, and unspoken cues. They can sense discomfort, anticipate reactions, and navigate relational landscapes with perceptive care. This skill is both relational and protective, facilitating connection without losing awareness of boundaries. Self-reliance is common. They have internalized the capacity to regulate emotion, plan ahead, and meet personal needs independently. This independence is adaptive, rooted in years of balancing dual households, loyalty, and expectation. Yet it can also foster subtle self-isolation, reluctance to seek support, or hesitation to fully trust the consistency of others. Conflict management is informed by early experience. They often approach disagreements with caution, striving to preserve relationships while asserting boundaries carefully. Patterns of negotiation, compromise, and mediation learned in childhood translate into adult social and professional contexts. They are skilled in balancing competing needs, diffusing tension, and maintaining relational stability. Identity is shaped by duality. They carry the awareness of multiple perspectives, holding space for contradictions and complexities in themselves and others. Their sense of belonging may feel nuanced, sometimes fragmented, but it is also informed by resilience, reflection, and adaptability. The child who lived between worlds becomes an adult capable of inhabiting relational spaces with depth and subtlety. Long-term patterns also reveal emotional depth. Memory, nostalgia, and reflection intertwine with present experience, shaping emotional responses to family, community, and intimate relationships. They understand loss, absence, and impermanence, and often navigate these realities with quiet strength. Their emotional life is calibrated by early experience, a blend of vigilance, empathy, and careful observation. These patterns are neither deficits nor failures. They are adaptations, resources cultivated through necessity that provide insight, relational intelligence, and resilience. The adult shaped by parental divorce is both aware and attentive, capable of subtle emotional navigation that others may take for granted. Understanding these long-term psychological patterns illuminates the connection between early life experiences and adult relational competence. It is here that resilience, emotional intelligence, and adaptive wisdom converge, offering both challenge and strength. The echoes of childhood do not dictate the present. They inform it, providing a foundation for conscious integration, reflection, and personal growth. Adulthood offers perspective that childhood does not. The fractures of family life, once chaotic and raw, begin to reveal patterns, lessons, and nuance. The individual can step back and observe the loyalty, the tension, the compromises, all pieces of a larger emotional landscape that shape their growth. Integration begins with acknowledgement. They recognize the impact of parental separation on identity, behavior, and relationships without judgment. Guilt, confusion, and fear are named, held, and placed within context rather than left to linger as unexamined burdens. Memory becomes a map, not a trap. Acceptance is a quiet, deliberate practice. They may forgive parents for absence, conflict, or imperfection, not necessarily absolving harm, but releasing the weight of blame that once tethered them to resentment. Acceptance extends to themselves, acknowledging the adaptations, resilience, and coping strategies they developed in response to circumstance. The child within, once navigating uncertainty, is met with understanding from the adult self. Integration also involves narrative construction. They reinterpret past experiences as formative rather than defining, as instructive rather than limiting. Dual households, divided loyalty, and fractured rituals are reframed as teachers of empathy, observation, and subtle emotional intelligence. The story of childhood becomes a source of insight, not only for themselves but for how they relate to the world. Relationships shift with awareness. Attachment, trust, and intimacy are informed by recognition of past patterns. They may approach love and friendship with intention, balancing closeness with discernment and generosity with self-preservation. The echoes of early life inform relational strategy without dictating emotional life, allowing connection without fear or overcompensation. Solitude and reflection often accompany this integration. Moments of quiet thought, journaling, or memory revisitation become spaces of reconciliation. The adult engages with emotional history, observing growth, resilience, and patterns of adaptation. Solitude is no longer absence but a space for internal coherence and understanding. Integration is also embodied. Daily life, the routines, choices, and relationships reflects conscious adaptation of early lessons. Boundaries are clearer, self-expression is more intentional, and emotional regulation is practiced with awareness rather than necessity. They carry forward the subtle strengths cultivated in childhood: empathy, observation, adaptability, and resilience. In this chapter, the individual comes to inhabit both past and present simultaneously. They carry the story of childhood with clarity, acknowledging its influence while actively shaping identity, relationships, and emotional patterns in adulthood. The fractured landscapes of the past are transformed into a foundation for insight, emotional richness, and relational depth. Through integration and acceptance, they reclaim agency over their own narrative. The child of divorced parents becomes a reflective adult, capable of observing the past without being trapped by it, and engaging with the present with awareness, compassion, and quiet strength. There is a quiet power in those who grew up with divorced parents. It is not loud, dramatic, or outwardly celebrated. It is measured, subtle, and deeply human, a strength born from navigating complexity, loyalty, and emotional nuance from an early age. This strength is relational. They understand tension, empathy, and compromise as natural parts of connection. They see the fractures in relationships without judgment, respond to conflict with discernment, and hold love for multiple perspectives simultaneously. Where others may see disruption, they perceive subtle currents of care, responsibility, and relational intelligence. It is also internal. Resilience is cultivated, often silently, through observation, reflection, and adaptation. They have learned to balance desire for connection with the reality of circumstance, to self-regulate without external validation, and to navigate emotion without losing presence or authenticity. The child who once carried loyalty now carries insight. Their emotional sensitivity is a gift. They notice what is unspoken, sense what is overlooked, and respond with empathy that is nuanced rather than performative. They can inhabit relational landscapes with awareness, attuned to both joy and tension, hope and caution. Their perception is sharpened not by choice, but by necessity, a subtle acuity that informs adult relationships and personal growth. Even in solitude, their strength persists. Moments of reflection, quiet memory, or independent ritual become spaces for renewal, self-awareness, and emotional processing. The ability to find coherence amid fragmented early experiences is itself a demonstration of endurance and adaptability. Solitude is transformed from isolation into insight, observation, and internal mastery. The subtle strength of these individuals also manifests in moral and social understanding. They carry lessons of impermanence, the complexity of love, and the delicate balance of human needs. They understand compromise without surrender, presence without interference, and care without expectation. Their life experiences have given them a rare clarity about human imperfection and the ways people navigate it. And yet, their strength is not invulnerable. Moments of longing, doubt, or emotional fatigue remain natural echoes of early experience. But these moments are met with reflection, awareness, and resilience rather than unmoderated fear or impulse. They have learned to inhabit emotion consciously, with depth, patience, and care. Ultimately, the person who grew up with divorced parents embodies a paradox resolved, a fragility tempered by resilience. Longing balanced by awareness, love divided yet deeply felt. Their life is a testament to the human capacity to adapt, observe, and grow amid relational complexity. The subtle strength they carry is invisible yet enduring. It is found in careful listening, patient negotiation, and the capacity to maintain love across fractured landscapes. It is found in self-awareness, emotional reflection, and the courage to inhabit one's own story fully. In the end, their journey is a quiet testament to human resilience. The fractures of childhood did not break them, they shaped them. They carry forward the lessons of empathy, adaptability, and insight, living with a depth of understanding that only such early experience could cultivate. The subtle strength of those whose parents are divorced is not loud, it is luminous, enduring, and profoundly human.